A little bit about myself, just for your knowledge. So my name's AJ. I'm one of a few of the trainers. We've got three trainers on our team, and a few customer support folks that are here to help you. Don't think that you're an island. Please reach out for help. I know that some of the other tutors and Patricia yourself, Lori at times have emailed over questions about specific students. Hey, sometimes there's just technical stuff, right? They're trying to load a lesson and it's not working, right? Or they're trying to load a lesson and it just keeps spinning and they have to do like the same lesson over and over. Like things that like, yeah, let me know. It's not supposed to do that. But also, if you want to look at the data, I know there's been times when we've had students working in, let's say like Mind Plays or reading program that some of your students work in. And there's been questions about that. Hey, it hasn't populated, they're not moving at the pace that we thought they were going to move, or I just need help reading the reports. So I guess all that to say is don't feel like you're an island. Don't feel like you've got to figure it all out yourself. Please feel encouraged to shoot over any questions that you have, okay?
Okay.
All right. As far as the agenda, what we're going to talk about today, my plan is for us to, one, just kind of start on the same page. I want to set a foundation for how does essential ed work? So make sure that you know what happens when you plug a student in, what the student's going to experience. Then we'll talk about, we'll do a tour of the navigation so you can see what the student side looks like, what the teacher side looks like, how you can help students whenever they go, yeah, I don't know where I'm supposed to click, or I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do next. Make sure that you have those tools. And then I think what we'll probably do is spend more of our time talking about reports, because I think that's what's going to be the most valuable thing for you, Mark. It can feel a little overwhelming if we go too fast. So please just tell me to pump the brakes if that happens, okay?
Okay.
Awesome. All right, so let's jump in, and I promise this won't be a death by PowerPoint. I just want to use this kind of as a spring pad for a couple things. So we're going to start here and just talk about how does essential ed work. So it is it's an adaptive learning system that is built on the principles of mastery learning, and that's just a whole bunch of jargon to pretty much say that when students start in essential ed, it's going to customize the learning to the student's needs. So that starts off with an assessment. The first thing they're going to do in essential ed is take some kind of an assessment. Sometimes it's a practice test, sometimes it's a short quiz, but they're going to take some kind of an assessment that our system will use to diagnose their learning needs and the gaps in their skills. So our system is going to do the heavy lifting of identifying the needs, assigning the content. It's going to teach the lessons, and it's going to grade as the student goes through the material. So the student gets instant feedback on how well they're doing. And all of that leads into these reports that allows you to make really targeted instructional choices to go, oh, I see weak parts here. We're going to reinforce. Or, oh, I see you've repeated this lesson 2 or 3 times. Maybe I need to touch on that. Or sometimes just to give them an attaboy and say, hey, look, you're doing really well. Look at the time. Look at your scores. You're doing amazing, right? But yeah.
Uh, this question is really for Pat and my understanding of OLC at this point. Has my student taken the initial assessment through the essential education?
The student,
You, you could,
oh, sorry, Pat, go ahead.
well, the student would have to do that. I really wouldn't know, but they should, that would be, the student would have to be responsible for doing that on their own. But it
Okay,
really won't let them, will it let them move forward, AJ, without doing that?
so there are two ways that this works. Depending on where you plug them in, you can place them, like if we're talking about a lower level learner, I don't want to get like too into the weeds, but there are some ways in which you can place them or you can give them the easier assessment. And then there's other times when it's like, no, it gives them this half-length practice test that takes 30, 40 minutes to complete. It kind of depends on where they're working in the system. So we've got options. You can bypass it, or you can say, no, let's take the full practice, the half-length practice test. It's going to be robust. We're going to learn a whole lot about what you know and what you don't know. And we're going to build this really robust plan. You can kind of do either way.
So, again, Pat, in regard to my student, the assessment of where he was at and where I was to begin with him was not from the essential education piece. That was some other testing. Okay.
Correct. That was from CASAS.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Got it.
Yep. And that's one of the things, this is where it gets a little more nuanced, and I don't want to do info overload, but you can take that information from CASAS and you can go ahead and actually place them in the system. You could take, your student's CASAS report and go, oh, what they actually need is X, Y, Z, and A and C. And you could, if you really wanted to have your hands into the mud, you can go in and just give them those 5 things if you wanted to. So you can have as much control as you want, or you can back off and let the system kind of run itself. And then you look at the reports and go, well, what I'm seeing on here tracks with what I see on here. So yep, we're going to work on that. We're going to double down. We're going to, whatever. That tends to be the way most people approach it.
Okay.
All right. Well, that kind of leads into a point that I was going to make, which is to say that you have as much control as you want. It can be a very self-directed system. You can let your student get in there, do the test, do the lessons and quizzes. You read the reports and kind of you intervene as you see fit. It can be very self-directed, but it can also be very managed. If you want to have your hands all over everything, exactly what the student's looking at or what they're not looking at, you can do that as well. And I can walk you through those steps. That just tends to be more work than most people sign up for. That takes a lot of analysis and a lot of planning. And so sometimes it's easier to at least let the system get things started. With regard to assessments, I'd like to jump over to point 4 here. Margaret, I see you jumped on. Feel free to unmute and ask questions as we move along if you have anything pop up. Talking about the way the system works, point 4, there are lots of formative and summative assessments in the system. So the whole thing is broken down into units. Each unit comes with a quiz, with a comprehension quiz, but it also comes with a test out quiz. And this is one of the ways in which we're pretty different from a lot of other programs. Instead of saying, you got to go A to Z, you must do every single step along the way. We give students the option to test out. So we're always trying to adjust and adapt based on the student's knowledge. So they can test out of a unit if they think it's placed them too low or it's made too simple for them. And I'll show you where to find that. And then in addition to that, depending on if they're working in the GED Academy or the CASAS Academy, just kind of depending on where they're at, we have half-length practice tests baked right in. You can go assign them if you want, but they're baked into the curriculum. And so they're going to trigger at certain points for the student in it as well. And then just to kind of bring it all home on point 5, our system automatically will interpret the results of those quizzes and practice tests, so those assessments, and it's automatically going to provide some remediation, and it's going to reassign some content just based on the skills the student performed lowest on. So while, if I'm Mark's student, I hope he's looking at the reports. I hope he's seeing the areas in which I'm either taking a really long time or I'm scoring really low, and you're making note of like, oh, that's where I need to do some intervention, right? Our system is also doing that as well. So kind of this holistic, gonna get it from both sides approach there. So that was a pretty quick flyby on how Essential Ed works. Kind of high level view. Any questions about what we've talked about so far? All good? Okay. We'll keep tracking along. If something pops up, let me know. Let's talk about Pat, can you tell me, will the tutors, are you the one who's responsible for plugging students into the system? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So you're the one who determines if a student needs to be in GED Academy versus, let's say, CASAS Academy. You're already on top of all that.
Exactly. Now, some of the students are like some of the students are working on like 2 separate subject areas.
Mhm.
So in that case, like for instance, for reading, Some students are in the in the GED Academy because their reading scores were really high. And they're working in there kind of independently because their scores are very, very high. And they have a math tutor, but their scores in math are low, so they're in the CASAS Academy. So some students have access to both, but you know, if I can, I'll just give them access to one.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And whether they have access to one or both, it doesn't eat up extra seats from either, from other students.
Okay, that's
Um,
good to know.
yeah, and Mark and Margaret, just from that big picture overview, if you were to take all the content in the Casa Schools Academy and all the content in the GED Academy in our system, and if you turn that into a Venn diagram and lay them on top of each other, there's a lot of overlap. They cover similar material, but the big difference is that CASAS goes to a lower level, so it covers more basic skills, and GED goes to a higher level and covers more advanced skills. So that's the big takeaway. If you have someone who's really struggling with the content, it seems like it's too advanced for them, or it's too difficult, or maybe it's moving at too quick of a pace, it may mean that, oh, well, they should probably be working in the CASAS Academy because that content is a little bit easier and it's a little bit slower. Vice versa, if someone feels like, oh my gosh, this is taking forever, like I should be making more progress, this is way too easy, then it's possible they should be working in the GED Academy instead. They're very, very similar, just CASAS goes lower, GED goes higher. That's the big difference. So just from a understanding, a terminology understanding there.
So Mark, your student is in the CASAS Academy, correct?
That's the book I'm using. Yes.
Okay. But when he goes into essential ed, I'll double check afterwards. No problem.
I can't answer that. I have been
Okay.
on essential ed, and I was trying to log in, but I can't seem to do it right now. So, but I'll wait.
Okay,
till-
I'll
wait
resend you the link and everything after this
Okay.
meeting.
Thank you.
Sure, sure.
Mhm.
All right, let's talk about just kind of those starting steps. You asked earlier if a student could bypass the test. So when it comes to the CASAS Academy, what will happen by default is the student's going to take a kind of a locator quiz, meaning it's going to start with easy level questions, and it's going to get more and more difficult until they drop below 50%. So the first thing they're going to do is get in there, take this quiz with easy questions, and then when it gets too hard, the system says, oh, okay, we're going to stop here. You're a level B student or you're a level C student. It's going to place them according to their performance there. That's one option and probably the most common option. The other option is that you can go in when creating their account and you can set them. Mark, could you tell me just what's the first name of your student? I want to pull their account up real quick.
Is that okay, Pat?
I've got all their data right here anyways. It's
Oh,
just-
okay. Dimitri, I'm very careful about those things.
Sure.
I see. That's good. That's good, Mark.
Yeah.
Well, as a pastor for 35 years, so I know about confidentiality.
Sure.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. So Dimitri's taking they're taking the placement test. So the quiz. So that it's gonna automatically adjust and place them where they need to be in the system. So that's
Has
good.
he taken it so far?
That is what I'm trying to pull up right now. Let's find out. No, it doesn't look like Dimitri has logged in yet.
Okay.
Yeah. So no, Dimitri hasn't logged in yet. So no experience with that just yet.
Okay. And Mark, if he needs some help, I can do that with him as well. So just let me know.
What I was thinking of doing after today's session was taking my computer to our meeting and walking him through how to do this, how to get
okay.
on and what to do.
That's great.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. So let me show you a little bit of what that looks like. So I'm going to bring up my Educator account. I'm logged in as an admin for your system right now. When you log in, your screen's gonna look very, very similar to this. Mark, you won't have a few buttons, like for instance, you won't have the teacher button and the school info, but just about everything else is gonna look the same. It's really, really similar. Something that I would encourage you to check out, and oh yeah, go ahead.
Is there any way to make your screen bigger,
Oh yeah.
or
I
or
do
do I or do I do that?
both of us. So I just zoomed in a little bit. Did that make it larger? Is that better?
I made it a little larger, yeah.
Okay. You also should have an option near the top of your screen to zoom.
I
Um,
see
like,
that.
yeah, you should be able to to enlarge it on your end.
There we go. There we go.
Nice, nice. So if you're going to show your students how to access the system, you probably want to explore it a little bit on your own first. And I often use this as kind of homework. I kind of put this in your court, say this is a great place to come explore and get familiar. A lot of folks like to kick the tires to learn it before they really start, advocating for students. So when you log in, you'll see a link in the top right that says go to student homeroom. And this is your fake student account. So I strongly encourage you to check out this go to student homeroom. And this is probably how I would do it if I was sitting down with a student. In fact, when I did orientation, when I was using Essential Ed in the classroom, this is what I put it up on the big screen and we walked through it together. So I'm going to click this go to student homeroom. It takes me in just like a student would see. It's going to ask, for instance, for your student, they're only going to see the CASAS Goals Academy. That's the only thing that's turned on for them. I've got a few other things, but we'll just go ahead and click CASAS like they would. And they'll get a welcome video.
Welcome to the CASAS Goals Academy. My name is Leonard, and I'm going to be...
You might sit down and watch the video with them, ask them if they have questions. You might even have a question or two in your back pocket to say, well, Leonard explained this. What do you think about that? You might just have that in your back pocket. Then you're going to click get started. They get to this question. If you all have not had this conversation before, it's a great chance to stop and do some goal setting to talk about how many hours a week are they going to study. And sometimes students don't know how to answer that question. So I like to flip it back to them and kind of reverse engineer it and say, well, hey, when do you want to have your GED? And some of them say, well, I want to get it done before the end of the school year. I want to be done by the end of May. And so I'm like, all right, buddy, that's 4 months. That's 4.5 months. So that means you're going to take a test every single month. So how many hours do you need to study to be ready to take a test in 4 weeks, buddy? Like 4 weeks from today. What do you need to do to be test ready in 4 weeks? And then they're like, oh, what do you mean 4 weeks? And it's like, no, like let's just break it down and make it a manageable chunk. And so maybe that's 5 hours a week. Maybe they need to spend 20 hours to be ready for test. I don't know, right? But that's how you have that conversation with them. Then we plug in how much time they're going to study. And then they get into this where it says, hey, pick a subject. So like, for instance, if we're going to do math, it's going to take us in and we're going to do that quiz that I mentioned, that short quiz. So I'll pick math and he's going to walk me through this.
Welcome to the Mathematics Locator Test. This test will help...
So you'll go through this. You can do it from your account to just say, hey, all right, so once you get to this point, student, hit next, and it's going to take you into the or maybe you want to do it with them, but it's right now I'm in my fake student account. So it's not going to update my student's account. This is my fake student account. But anyways, you can kind of give them a feel for what it's supposed to look like. You can click next and go through it, kind of see what this, oh, yeah, all right. So can you use this? Don't use a calculator. Can you solve this? And if they're like, no, I don't know this one yet. All right. I think it only takes 2 of those before it stops. All right, we're going to divide. Oh, I don't know how to divide. I'm not very good at that. So I don't know this yet.
Thanks.
There we go.
This level will give you...
So it was really pretty quick, it was really pretty quick for me to go, this is too hard for me. And it's going to start me right there at the beginning. So I can click get started and it takes me right on into the homeroom.
Hi, I'm Leonard.
Now Leonard's giving me an orientation to everything in the homeroom. I'm a student. Where am I supposed to click? What should I click first? How do I go see my results? How do I see how I'm doing? What does an actual lesson look like, right? So he walks me through all those things here. And I'm going to zoom out just a tad. And this, here I am, I'm in the system. I'm just going to start making progress, right? Amazingly, I don't know how, but amazingly, I get students that get to the screen and they go, well, I don't know what to do. I'm like, you don't know to hit that bright orange start lesson button right in the middle of the screen? And they're like, yeah, I didn't know I was supposed to start my lesson. It's like, well, okay, but like they may need you to coach them a little bit there. So we're going to start our lesson. This is what we're supposed to work on, right? So I click my start lesson and now I'm going through a lesson.
Hi, welcome to the lesson on skip counting.
Now I'm going to back out. We're not actually going to go into a lesson, but yeah, this is right here. This is the meat and potatoes of the system. This is where students are going to work. My unit, my lesson, how long it's going to take me, what am I working on? And then, like I said, somehow they overlook this bright orange button and they're like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
So I'll have a page and Dimitri will have a page.
What do you mean? Do you mean like you'll have an account and Dimitri will have an account?
Yes, an account.
Yes.
And my account will be able to access his to a certain degree.
Completely. Yes. Yeah. Like, so right now I'm in my fake student account, which you'll have a fake Mark account. And so everything I'm doing right now is tied to my account. If you were following my steps, it would be tied to your fake Mark account.
So if Dimitri and I were using this together and he was going to take a test while I was there, he would want to be in his account to take that test.
That's exactly right.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. What I'm doing right now is all great for demonstration, for orientation. But if Dimitri knocks it out of the park on that test, it didn't affect his account, and that'd be really unfortunate,
Got it.
Once you're done kind of doing the demonstration, you can go back into the teacher side. But this is just a great way to get familiar with what students see, One thing I like to point out, and I encourage you to mention this to your students, is that there's that test out quiz. So every unit comes with a test out quiz. The whole number unit, I think it has 4 or 5 lessons. But if I'm like, this is too easy, I know how to multiply, I know how to write a whole number, whatever, then I can click this link that says, think you've got it, try to test out, and I can take a quick quiz that will move me. If I pass it, it'll move me on to the next unit.
Got it.
And for adults, that tends to be really encouraging because sometimes they're just like, this is too easy, I know what I'm doing. They're like, well, cool, brother. Like, show me that you know what you're talking about. So I like to encourage them to do that. There's more that we could unpack here. Whenever they complete units, they'll get their scores down here. Leonard explains that in his video. Their study time, they get to monitor their study time down here.
Is Leonard the meme guy?
Yeah, he's one of the folks. There's 4 characters. Leonard's one of them, and there's 3 or 4 others that will teach them as they go throughout, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you hear them talk about Leonard or Curtis, those are our little characters on there.
So AJ, are you going to show them the individual learning plan?
Yeah. So right now, from the student's perspective, this is what the system has assigned me, right? Based on how I performed on that test, this is what the system has given me. It's given me this learning plan. And this is what I talk about if you want to let students kind of drive the ship and let it be self-directed, then our system is going to adjust this as they make progress. If you want a more hands-on approach, I'll show you how to go back and manipulate this from the teacher perspective. So that we'll head there in just a second. Before I back out of the student side, do you have any questions about what else is on the screen here?
Okay, one thing, AJ, that I did want to mention, we really don't give our students the luxury of deciding where they're going to go. So what we do is we target, what they're working on at this particular time. So for instance, Mark's student, Well, he solely is working on math. Okay. So I'm sorry, he's solely working on reading.
Reading.
Right, reading with Mark. So he wouldn't be going into the math, academy or anything like that. So that's how we're a little different than some of the traditional.
Yeah. So everything we've talked about would still be the exact same. You just wouldn't have these options over here. Like on the left, you can see
Exactly.
math 2, reading, mind play. So they just wouldn't have these extra options.
Exactly.
Let's reset that.
Welcome to
When you are done exploring the student side of things, you'll click this bright orange return to LMS. If you're in there trying to explore, I'm not sure if you saw that. It's bright orange right here.
welcome to the
Yep, I see it.
That takes me back to the teacher side, and this allows me to look at the different student accounts, what they're working on.
Yeah.
Let's see. So, Pat, do your tutors customize the learning plan? Do they go in and adjust the learning plan?
They haven't, well, no, they haven't.
Okay.
Our students usually work through the learning plan, in increments. And as you said, if they feel that they can quiz out, they can do that in order to move forward.
Yeah. Okay. For sure. So in that case, Mark, what I think it makes sense to talk about is the data side of things. Are you
Okay.
tracking so far? Do you have any questions about what we've covered so far? Even if it's just like process, like, hey, step 1, step 2, step 3. Are you feeling comfortable with things so far?
I'm feeling comfortable with learning how to navigate the website,
Okay.
because I think you hit on it at the very beginning. Once I understand a tool, I can implement the tool,
Mhm.
but knowing how to use it is what I'm here for.
Sure.
And see, like even and Pat says she's going to send me the numbers, but in between here, I'm trying to get back on Dimitri's, my page, and I just can't do it right now. But I got to get in there and work around. That's what I've got to do.
Mhm.
Do you mean accessing this, like, so logging?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. For right now, I'm having trouble logging in. So
Sure. Well, we can fix that right now. So I've got your account right here.
okay,
Are you using this? Are you at the website that says like Oakland Literacy at the top?
I was.
Okay.
I'm out of it now, but I'll
Sure.
get back to it. Can you give me a second?
Of course. I know sometimes it's helpful to
It's helpful to see it on my own.
that's right.
I got to find my paper though. Where did that go? Well, I don't know what I did with it. Go here.
So AJ, he really doesn't need access to HiSet.
Sure, we can, yeah. And nor virtual tutor for that matter. Well, I guess.
No, I think the virtual tutor, yeah.
For Mark.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, let's go on. I'm trying to get there. You all go on, and I'm listening.
Oh, you're good. I mean, it's just us, right? Like I would much rather you feel comfortable. I also put the link in the chat, so I don't know if you're able to pull the chat open.
So
Oh,
AJ,
yes.
could you please send Mark another email?
Yeah, that was my next plan. Oop, wrong button.
Yes.
Where it says teacher email?
Yes. Yes, I've got that now. I've got up from the chat. I didn't see that.
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay.
My system decided to log me out all of a sudden. I'm like, so what I'll do, so you've got your email right there. That's how you're gonna log in. And would it be helpful if I change your password real quick?
Yes.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna change it to the word educator. with the capital E and the numbers 25. So it's going to look like this. It's
Let me
gonna
get
look
back over. Let me get back over.
all good.
Educator 25 with my
Mhm.
email.
Right. Let me hit save so that'll click, and then you can go in and you can change it if you want afterwards. But yeah,
Oh, I'm there.
awesome.
You're in?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay. So you don't need to do a lot over here. Dimitri's account is set up. He's good to go. What you'll want to do is jump over to the reports tab. And this is where we're going to see some data. Now, at the moment, you may not see anything. Let me take a look real quick. Does Mark have a class? Mark doesn't have a class. Does he have students assigned to him?
Just the one student.
It's the one student. Yeah. Okay. So at the moment, you're not going to see any data because Dimitri hasn't logged in yet, but I'm going to show you what it will look like.
Okay.
I would say the first one that you'll go to is the one that it takes you to by default. It's called study time. This report is great because it's really quick and easy to run, and it's going to tell you, are they actually logging in and using the system?
Study time. Okay.
Now you're only going to have the option of all students and then Dimitri. I can run for anybody in the system. And then I've got a start date and an end date. If I just want to see what they've done this week, I can adjust that. Let's say I just want to see what they've done since January, beginning of the year, January 2025. So I'm going to start then. I'm going to leave it open. I want to collect in and out of class time, so I'm going to leave that alone. And then I'm going to collect all time instead of just CASAS or GED. So I'm going to click all products. For you, this won't necessarily matter. Dimitri's only going to be working in CASAS, so that won't necessarily matter. But I find it curious. So hit see report, and here we go. I got 113 hours. So your students have put in 113 hours. I've got 19 of it in class, 95 of it out of class. That's fantastic. Good job, Oakland Literacy Council students. So for me, Mark, if I'm trying to find out information on my student, let's say my student is Ashia, I'm just going to quickly check to see, have they logged in? Have they used it? For this student, I see they've got 5 hours, and maybe that's what I expected, right? They've only had access to it for a week. 5 hours is great. They're cooking. This is awesome. Maybe this is a student who's supposed to be doing 5 hours a week. And so I'm like, well, hang on, I should see like 17, 18 hours by now. So I know I need to do some motivating and some problem solving, right? So that's why I like this one, because it's just super quick. I just get the quick details. How long are they in the system, Any questions about this particular report? Any questions on how you might use it?
Well, just to see whether or not they are putting in time during the week and how that's helping them move toward their goal.
Yeah. Yep. There you go. That's pretty quick, pretty straightforward. You can go deeper. You can peel back some of the layers of the onion, but for me, I think your best bet is just quickly run this and go, did they spend the right amount of time or not?
So for me in my situation, apparently Dimitri has really not taken advantage of this yet. But my assumption, Pat, is he was given the information in the beginning of the process.
He was.
Okay, so that should have been something that a tutor, maybe a more seasoned tutor, would have been able to encourage. But now I can. So would the best way for me to do it is to sit with Dimitri in this essential education and just start him on the lessons, take that initial reading test, And then how do the books play in then that you gave me, Pat? How do those play into this? Am I working through those?
They're just, right, just working through them just as supplemental resources. So they
So
don't really tie
this
in. It's just another means of support for him.
and this essential education though is the main piece that we need to be working with to move him along to his goals.
Yes,
Got it.
because that can be done independently.
Okay. Now, I don't know this situation, but is there a app for phones for digital devices, or do you just use a browser on a digital device if all he has is his phone?
Yeah, so our system is designed to work from a phone first. Our instructional design team, you might have noticed when I pulled up some of those lessons, it was already kind of in landscape mode.
Yes.
So it's designed for that. They can log in. They don't get like a watered down approach. This is like they just put it like this and boop boop boop. You know, the whole system's there.
Now, but is it through an app or is it through the browser?
It's through the browser, so they'll go to the specific website. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
And Pat, again, just for my situation, you will send Dimitri his login information again.
I
And
will.
okay, I will tell him to look for that so that he knows to bring it with him tomorrow.
Okay. It'll be in his email.
Okay.
It looks like Dimitri's account was created on 11/4 on November 4th, so he's had it a little while, but yeah, you can access this, Mark. You can come over here to the student list. Now you'll see everybody when you come here, but you can so like when you come here, you'll see all 48 students. But if you want to just limit it down to Dimitri, I can just type in DIM and
I'd rather just see Dimitri. I mean, he's
yeah.
my sole focus. Yeah.
I don't think they can. AJ, can they see
I don't
everybody?
think
I
we
don't think they
can.
can. They can't.
That's a good question.
I don't. My only student that comes up is Dimitri.
Okay, well there you go.
I can click on all students, but nothing comes up.
Sure.
And then Dimitri.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Well, this has been very helpful to me. Extremely
Good.
helpful. And I
Good, good,
just,
good.
but mostly, I mean, we have trained, but this is, I mean, like I said, this is the first time for me, and I want to do it right. And knowing that this is the real foundational piece that I need to be working with on him is helpful.
Yep.
Right.
So, okay.
There's one other tool I'd like to put in your toolkit. Mark, this is one that it's going to take a while, you know, a while for it to unfold for Dimitri, but
Mhm.
I think it's going to be eventually the most powerful or useful tool for you. So I'd hate not to mention it. Just at the moment, it's going to be boring. There's nothing to it. So it's called the Student Summary Report, and that is your grade book. Everything Dimitri turns in is going to show up on the student summary. And so I've got an example of one that I've run for another student. I'm going to pull over. It's a spreadsheet, so it's a little boring, a little overwhelming even, but I'm going to break it down and make it digestible for you.
Mhm.
So when you run this for Dimitri, you'll see, you know, your student's name, you'll see where they're working. This student happened to be working in TABE. Yours will say CASAS. You can see the units that they're working on. You can see the lessons they're working on. You can see if they're working on a lesson, a quiz, a practice test. That'll all show up here. You'll also see the dates that they worked on it. So you'll get all that information. The whole reason I'm bringing this up is because this is the quickest and easiest way to see all their scores, right? So
That person's doing well.
yeah, you want to know like, hey, how are they doing? Are they doing all right? Well, here's an example of a student who's scoring pretty close to 80% on everything or better. 80% mastery. So we're looking like, yeah, this looks good. The student's doing great.
So all these lessons,
Mhm.
you go to the homeroom, and then you take that initial test, and then you just keep going next. Is that correct?
You nailed it. Yes, 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 yes.
That is amazing to know.
Yeah,
Okay.
Go ahead, Pat. Sorry.
So AJ, before we end this, could we please make sure that we go to the learning plan and then they see how everything is set up in that
Oh,
learning
yeah, yeah.
plan?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
that'll make everything a lot clearer for the form, I think.
Sure. Yeah, so yeah, let me pull up the learning plan real quick let me find a student who's got a fair bit of work. We'll use Lisa. Learning.
I don't think okay, why don't we go to
Well, I just need somebody who's got some work in here because otherwise it'll
okay.
blank. See assignments we're loading. Okay, so here is Lisa's math learning plan, right? And so I can see they took they at the very beginning understanding whole numbers. They've completed that. When they took that assessment, you know, that very first one, it showed that she tested out of whole numbers and operations. So great job there. And she's working through shapes, perimeter, and area. And these are the big.
So AJ, could you please hit the plus sign over here so that it can
Oh,
plus
yeah,
sign on the
I'm trying.
left? Right. Okay, so you see how you see those are the different components that are within like whole numbers. So, you can see that she mastered, those skills and tested out.
Simple step, AJ, please show me how you got to that again.
So normally when you've got like with Dimitri, once you know he's working in the system, all you have to do is click learning plan.
Okay.
The reason I did a little bit of like clicking jujitsu there was just because I didn't know who had data. I needed to find someone that had some data so I could populate it. But normally all you'll have to do is hit the reports tab and right next to the study time report, here's the learning plan report.
Got it.
So Mark, what the student does is they start at the very beginning of the learning plan and then they work their way. They don't skip anything. They work their way on through. And once this is in the CASAS Academy, once they complete the CASAS Academy, then they're finished with the CASAS Academy, and so then they will automatically need to move over to the GED Academy.
Okay.
But they need to go step by step, and it really won't let you move forward, will it? Out of order, AJ?
Theoretically, if you have a really creative student, they could jimmy with it.
Okay.
But no, right. You just click that next lesson, next lesson, next lesson, just like you mentioned, Mark. Most students are just going to follow that step. Is there a place where you can go and you can like, yeah, I found the magic button? Yeah, there's a few places that students can really mess with it, but they can't like break it, and it's going to show up. So.
This is Peg. I arrived late and I've got to leave early, but I thank you very much for going through that. AJ, I do have some experience with Alex from my teaching days, and I love the software, the intelligent software, and your program has been great. And as you've been talking, I've been going into the GED Academy and seeing that is mirrored. The same steps that you've been going through are just mirrored in that academy as well. So that's great.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
so much. Bye-bye.
Awesome. Mark, do you have any questions kind of left on the table that would help you use this better? We can always circle back and connect if you're like, I've got enough information to digest right now. I'd like to crunch it and then get back. We can always revisit.
Sure. And no, getting logged back in and understanding the purpose of the different tabs, understanding the homeroom thing, which is key to this, I think. I think I can navigate this in the beginning with Dimitri, take some time to learn it myself, and I have no trouble contacting Pat if I have a question to reach out to you. So.
And if I don't know, we can work through it together, because a lot of it, when I didn't know anything about this particular, essentially it. But the more you're in there, the more I learn each day. So it's really, I love it though.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks for carving out some time to meet with me today, and I look forward to the next one, okay?
All right.
Sounds
Well,
really great.
I hope you don't get too cold out there and 50 degrees and
We'll stay flanneled up, you know.
quick story. A few years back, I went to Puerto Rico, one of our American places, and it was during the winter. And the guy said it was cold, and it was about 60 degrees. And I said, "Well, how cold has it ever got here?" He said, "Well, last week the wind chill got down into the 50s." I never been anywhere where they talk about wind chill being in the 50s.
Right.
But that gives me I remember that. So
That's amazing.
AJ, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Y'all have a
Thank
great
you,
rest of your day,
Pat.
okay?
Okay, take care. Thank you, AJ.
Thanks. Bye-bye.